Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakodash. That's who this word ignorantly called God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit in the Paleo Ancient Hebrew tongue. Double honors to the elders and apostles across the four corners of the earth that's pushing this truth and sincerity. We know where that truth lives, with the elders and apostles, great millstone. Peace and salutations to the old from late. I got a couple videos I want to show, man, about China movement on the dollar, man, and show y'all, how we're coming into an MOTB state real soon, man. Market of B state real soon, man, And I just got a couple videos just to show how China is moving on the American dollar. It's a lot, I'm kind of busy. I'm prepping a meal for the camp today, so just bear with me. I'll be roughly paraphrasing precepts, but yeah, I'm trying to prep up some meals. So, I heard through the elders, there's no excuses on videos. We can do videos while we cooking, while we eating, anywhere, So there's no excuse on doing videos, man. And, I understand that through the Spirit, the Lord allowed me to see that. So, yeah, I'm going to get up out slothfulness, man, and, out of the mind state of chastening, get back into producing, man, like I used to, Yahweh Ratazah, he keep me in that spirit. But without further ado, I'm gonna play the video. I got a few videos, okay? It's about 3-4 parts to this, but just watch carefully. It's very good information of what's going on about the dollar. But I own no rights to these videos. This is fair use only, fair use for educational purposes only. Fair use, okay? I own no rights to these videos. It's all for educational purposes only. Fair use. But we'll get it started.
2024, China did something that will change your life forever. They dumped $3 trillion worth of U.S. assets in coordinated silence. And if you're holding dollars right now, you need to understand what happens next. What I'm about to tell you isn't conspiracy theory. It isn't fear-mongering. It's happening right now in real time, and most Americans have absolutely no idea. While you were worrying about inflation and your grocery bills, China just launched the opening move in the greatest financial war in human history. And the weapon they're using? Your dollar. Let me start by explaining exactly what happened on November 15th, because the mainstream media isn't telling you this story. They're too busy distracting you with political theater and celebrity gossip. But in the world of international...
That's right. Mainstream media is not letting us know what China is doing with the dollar and how it's going to affect us. They got the people worried about Diddy. They got the people worried about Shador Sanders. They got people worried about Epstein files. Just a lot of bullshit. The NFL, it's a lot of bullshit going on. When really, this devil about to close the curtain, man. He about to close the curtain. The show is about to be over. All the shit that y'all love to do in America is about to be over, man. This man about to close the curtain, man.
National finance, in the quiet rooms where real power is exercised, something massive shifted. China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, began a coordinated sell-off of U.S. Treasury bonds. Not a small amount, not a test. $3 trillion. That's trillion with a T. To put that in perspective, that's larger than the entire economy of the United Kingdom. That's more than the GDP of India. That's enough money to buy Apple, Microsoft, and Google combined. And they didn't do it publicly. They didn't announce it. They did it through back channels, through intermediaries, through a network of shell companies and sovereign wealth funds that most people don't even know exist. How do I know this? Because I track capital flows. I watch the Federal Reserve's custody holdings. I monitor the Treasury International Capital data that gets released every month. And what I'm seeing is unprecedented. The numbers don't lie. China is systematically exiting the dollar system. Now, some of you might be thinking, so what? China sells some bonds. How does that affect me? And that's exactly the question I'm going to answer. Because what China is doing right now will impact every single aspect of your financial life. Your savings, your paycheck, your retirement, your ability to afford basic necessities. Everything is about to change. Let me explain the mechanics of what's happening. For the past 50 years, the US dollar has been the world's reserve currency. What does that mean? It means that when countries trade with each other, they do it in dollars. When someone in Japan wants to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they don't use yen or reals, they use US dollars. When a company in Germany wants to import goods from Brazil, they settle the transaction in dollars. The system, known as the petrodollar system, was established in 1971 when President Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standard and made a deal with Saudi Arabia. The Saudis would only sell oil in dollars, and in exchange, the U.S. would provide military protection. Other countries followed suit, and suddenly, on November 15th, 2024, every country in the world needed to hold massive amounts of U.S. dollars just to participate.
So like this is part
China
two.
did some. Every country in the world needed to hold massive amounts of U.S. dollars just to participate in global trade. This gave America an incredible advantage. We could print as much money as we wanted because there was always demand for dollars. Other countries had to produce real goods and services to earn dollars, but we could just create them out of thin air. It was the greatest economic privilege in history. But here's the problem. That privilege requires trust. It requires other countries to believe that the...
And this is what this man has got away with for centuries, man. You know, printing money that holds no value, you know? Giving it to other countries all based off their word, man, you know? This man has been controlling the world with this fiat currency that ain't worth a damn, man. You know what I mean? This man currency ain't worth a damn. But our people put their trust into it, man. You know? They put their trust into Esau. Let me get a precept. 1 second, Salat. Get a precept. Because our people love to go down to Egypt for help, man. You know? Bear with me, Salat. Get this parsley in this bowl. You know, parsley, cilantro going, you know. But yeah, let me get a precept. This is Isaiah chapter 30. I'm gonna read verse 1 and 2. Salat? 1 through 3. It says, "Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yahweh, that take that covering with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin." And that's right, man, because, you know, they have not listened. You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we've been telling y'all about this prophecy for years, man. And y'all have not come, you know, to learn your true power. You know, y'all go down to Egypt for help, man. You know, y'all go down to this white man and trusting this white man money when he is going to make it fall, man. Verse 2. "They walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt," man. And that shadow means trust in the shadow. That word shadow goes into a false life, a life that's not guaranteed, man. And that's this kingdom. This kingdom is not guaranteed. You niggas put all y'all trust in this dollar and all this and money and shit. And look what this man about to do. He's about to turn this shit to a whole digital currency. So what paperback dollar you gonna be flexing, nigga? What are you gonna be flexing? It says, "Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt be your confusion," man. And hey, what's going on right now, what China is doing with the dollar is going to have this dollar collapse very soon, man. Well, really, it's ultimately all systems is going to come together with a digital currency, you know, to bring forth so the Lord can bring forth his MOTB, man. You know, Esau has to bring in this digital currency, man, his mark of the beast, because why? My Lord is coming, you know. And hey, China is quickening by, you know, dumping the dollar in the treasury, man.
The dollar will hold its value, that America won't abuse its power, that the system is fair and sustainable, and over the past 2 decades, that trust has been eroding. We've printed trillions of dollars to fund wars, bailouts, stimulus packages, and government spending. We've weaponized the dollar system, using it to sanction countries we don't like, freezing their assets, cutting them off from international trade. We've proven that the dollar isn't neutral. It's a tool of American foreign policy. And China has been watching, learning, planning, and now they're making their move. The $3 trillion exodus isn't just about selling treasury bonds. It's about building an alternative system. A system where China, not America, sits at the center. A system where the yuan, not the dollar, is the dominant currency. And they're not doing it alone. They've spent the last 10 years building alliances. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These countries represent over 40% of the world's population and a growing share of global GDP, and they're all working together to create an alternative to the dollar system. In August 2023, the BRICS announced they're expanding. They invited Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Iran, and Ethiopia to join. Think about that for a second. Saudi Arabia, the country that made the petrodollar system possible. They're now joining an alliance explicitly designed to move away from the dollar. And it gets worse. China has been making bilateral currency agreements with countries all over the world. They've done deals with Russia to trade in rubles and yuan. They've made agreements with Brazil to trade in their local currencies. They're building.
See, all these countries are straying away from the American dollar, which means what? The American dollar would not be the world's, would not be the face of the world's currency. The U.S. dollar would not be the face of the, would not be the world's currency no more, man. You know, that's what it's coming down to, man. Because once all these countries stop using the U.S. dollar to purchase gold, the dollar is done, man. It's done. It's going to fall, man. It's going to fall. And then they're not dealing. Then Trump putting tariffs on these other countries and stuff. These other countries don't need American shit, man. They don't need American shit. These tariffs is only going to affect the people. It's not going to affect other countries, man. I mean, what? EU in some places maybe, but like, bro, a lot of these countries like China and shit, they're not worried about that. They got BRICS behind them, man. BRICS came together to stop dealing with these devils.
Currency swap lines with dozens of countries, allowing them to bypass the dollar entirely. But the real weapon in China's arsenal? Gold. While America has been printing money and running up debt, China has been quietly accumulating gold. Nobody knows exactly how much gold China really has, because they don't report it accurately. Official numbers say around 2,000 tons, but independent analysts estimate it could be 20,000 to 30,000 tons. That's more than the United States officially holds. Why does this matter? Because gold is the ultimate form of money. It's been valuable for 5,000 years. It can't be printed. It can't be devalued by government decree. Every country in the world needed to hold massive amounts of US dollars just to participate in global trade. This gave America an incredible advantage. We could print as much money as we wanted because there was always demand for dollars. Other countries had to produce real goods and services to earn dollars, but we could just create them out of thin air. It was the greatest economic privilege in history. But here's the problem. That privilege requires trust. It requires other countries to believe that the dollar will hold its value, that America won't abuse its power, that the system is fair and sustainable. And over the past 2 decades, that trust has been eroding. We've printed trillions of dollars to fund wars, bailouts, stimulus packages, and government spending. We've weaponized the dollar system, using it to sanction countries we don't like, freezing their assets, cutting them off from international trade. We've proven that the dollar isn't neutral. It's a tool of American foreign policy. And China has been watching, learning, planning, and now they're making their move. The $3 trillion exodus isn't just about selling treasury bonds. It's about building something that will change your life. An alternative government decree. And if China backs their currency with gold...
Salak, bear with me. I'm moving around a little bit, man, but bear with me. This part 3, Salak.
Even partially, it becomes a credible alternative to the dollar. Imagine this scenario. China announces that the yuan is now backed by gold. 1 yuan equals X amount of gold, and you can exchange it anytime you want. Suddenly, every country holding worthless paper dollars is going to start thinking very hard about switching to yuan. Because at current...
That's right. Because, hey, you're going to be holding that dollar you're going to be holding, that dollar that these niggas done spent their whole life trying to accumulate. And Jake probably done accumulate $1 million or something. And now Esau about to make this shit useless. You know? He's about to turn... Jake fought all his life just to reach $1 million or a couple 100,000, man. Just so Esau can turn around and drop this motherfucker, man. See? You can put in so much work to chase this man dollar, man. And he still is not gonna allow it. The dollar is still not gonna the dollar's not gonna make it. And you niggas done spent your lifetime chasing this dollar, man. Instead of trying to serve the Lord, trying to find out who your true power is, man. You know? And hey, that's why, hey, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, man. You know? They're trusting Egypt and not in the Lord, man. You know? Like this Lord said, roughly paraphrasing, man. You know? But we're coming into a time to where, hey, you see, this man dollar is not going to mean a goddamn thing, man. It's not going to mean nothing, man. You know? And this is something that the Lord is going to allow to happen towards his people. Because, hey, Negroes only trust in the dollar. Negroes don't trust in my Lord. They only trust in the dollar, man. You know? That's all they put their trust in. They tell you, if you ain't got no money, they look at you like you fucked up. Everybody broke. I mean, not broke, but everybody got it. Everybody got money. Everybody got bands. Nobody's broke. Nobody's broke, man. Nobody's broke. Everybody got it now. You know? Well, we're going to see how much everybody got it when this dollar drop.
Currency backed by something real is worth more than a currency backed by nothing but debt and promises. This is the end game. This is what the $3 trillion exodus is preparing for. China is getting out of dollars before they announce the new system. They're selling now while dollars still have value, before the rush to the exits begins. And when other countries figure out what's happening, when they realize that China is serious about replacing the dollar, they're going to panic. They're going to start dumping their dollar holdings too. Every central bank in the world holds trillions in U.S. Treasury bonds. And if they all start selling at once, it's game over for the dollar. Let me paint you a picture of what happens when the dollar loses reserve currency status. First, interest rates in America will skyrocket. Right now, we can borrow.
That's right. The interest rate will sky high, man, because why, man? The dollar is no more good, man. Nobody using it no more. Nobody using it to trade with no more, man. So inflation is going to go high, man. We ain't seen the inflation that he's talking about yet. You know, like, as I go to the grocery store gradually, man, I see things raising up, man. You know, like I cook things and I cook and there's certain ingredients that I go get to where the price has been the same for about a couple months. I recently just went to go get some ingredients that I'm going to cook with, and they raised them up $1, you know? They're raising them up slowly, man. They're raising the prices up slowly. It's noticeable, but not as much noticeable, man, to where what he's talking about. Because inflation is going to hit the roof to where people can't even afford to go grocery shopping, man, you know? You're going to be able to probably get you maybe some bread and lunch meat, and that's it, you know? It's going to come to that point.
Money cheaply because there's always demand for treasury bonds. Foreign countries need dollars, so they buy our debt. But when that demand disappears, when China and others are selling instead of buying, the U.S. government will have to offer much higher interest rates to attract buyers. What does that mean for you? Your mortgage rate goes from 7% to 15%. Your car loan doubles. Credit card rates hit 35 or 40%. Borrowing money becomes prohibitively expensive. The housing market collapses because nobody can afford the payments. Businesses can't get loans to expand or even operate. The entire economy seizes up. Second, inflation goes into overdrive. When other countries don't need dollars anymore, all those dollars that are currently held overseas will come flooding back to America. It's called reverse currency flow. And when you suddenly have trillions of extra dollars chasing the same amount of goods and services, prices explode. We're not talking about 8 or 10% inflation. We're talking about Weimar Germany levels, Zimbabwe levels, Argentina levels. Your groceries could double in price every few months. Your life savings could lose half its value in a year. This is hyperinflation, and it destroys societies.
Which is going to happen. It's coming real soon. Hyperinflation is coming real soon to America, man. And when hyperinflation hit, man, you know, it's going to get crazy. People going to lose their fucking mind, man. Not be able to afford fucking food. No, that's all people think of here in America, man. First thing motherfucker wake up is, I'm hungry. What we gonna eat? I'm hungry. Motherfucker depressed, they go to food. Motherfucker happy, they go to food. Motherfucker just wake up and just think food here, man. You know?
Third, America's standard of living will plummet. Right now, we live beyond our means. We import more than we export. We consume more than we produce. And we can only do this because the world accepts our dollars in exchange for their goods. But when the dollar is no longer the reserve currency, that party ends. Suddenly, we have to actually produce things of value to trade for the things we want, or trade government decree. And if China backs their currency,
That's right.
becomes unsustainable. Imports become insanely expensive, and Americans will have to accept a much lower standard of living. No more cheap electronics from China, no more affordable clothes from Bangladesh, no more inexpensive produce from Mexico. Everything will cost dramatically more, while wages stagnate or fall in real terms. Fourth, the US government will face a fiscal crisis unlike anything in our history. We currently have over $35 trillion in national debt, and we're adding trillions more every year. We can only sustain this because we can print money and other countries accept it. But when the dollar loses its status, we can't just print our way out anymore. Printing will only accelerate the hyperinflation, so the government will face impossible choices, massive cuts to Social Security, Medicare, defense spending, everything, or default on the debt. Either option leads to social and economic chaos.
And just imagine when people, when people get their Social Security cut, man. Yeah, you got a lot of these Edomites, man, that's on Social Security, man, on disability, man. Let me get a preset, man, because this is nothing. This is something that the Lord is going to do, man. Let me get a preset. This is what this devil wants to do, man. You have no escaping it.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds too extreme. Surely the US government won't let this happen. They'll do something to stop it. And you're right that they'll try. But here's the problem. There's very little they can do at this point. The process is already in motion. China has been preparing for this for 15 years. They've built the infrastructure. They've made the alliances. They've accumulated the gold. They've created alternative payment systems like CIEPS to compete with SWIFT. The Belt and Road Initiative, which seemed like just infrastructure investment, was actually about building economic dependencies. Countries that owe China money, that rely on Chinese investment, that trade primarily with China, they're going to side with China when push comes to shove. And America's response? We've been asleep at the wheel. We've been fighting wars in the Middle East while China was building economic alliances. We've been printing money to fund government spending while China was accumulating gold. We've been weaponizing the dollar to punish our enemies, proving to everyone that the system can't be trusted. Even our allies are hedging their bets now. France and Germany have been vocal about wanting a European alternative to dollar dependence. Japan has been quietly diversifying their reserves. Everyone sees the writing on the wall. So what can the US do? They could try to raise interest rates dramatically to defend the dollar, but that would crash the economy and the housing market. They could impose capital controls, making it illegal for Americans to move money out of dollars. But that would destroy confidence even faster and confirm that we're in crisis mode. They could try to negotiate with China, offer concessions, try to maintain the status quo, but China holds all the leverage now. Why would they accept a deal when they're winning? The ugly truth is that we're watching the decline of American financial hegemony in real time. And just like the British pound lost its unsustainable.
That's right. We're watching the fall of this place, man. Let me get another preset. This is get a preset. So like, bear with me. Limitations. All right, here we go. This is Limitations 4 and 17. As for us, Israelites, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Indians, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watch, we have watched for a nation that could not save us, man. And that's you. Our people trust in this so-called white man so much, and this government so much, and want to be equal with this man so much. Bro, we look for this nation to save us when they're not going to, man. They whole agenda is set up to go against us, man. And to usher in the Lord's prophecy, which is the MOTB, the mark of the beast. That's why this dollar has to drop. Because why? The word of the Lord, the words of my heavenly Father must be fulfilled, man. It's going to happen. And it's not no fear monger or no scare attack. It's the word of the Lord, man. If you scared, then that's your fucking problem, man. You ain't been doing right. Because as a man that served Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, Jake ready, man. Jake ready. Jake happy. Jake spirit is turning more into a happiness, man. Because, you know, I'm seeing these prophecies come to pass, and it shows that my Lord don't lie, man. You know, and hey, our nation fell for our vain help, man. In our watch, we watch for a nation that will not save us, cannot save us, and will not save us, man. These are our enemies, man. And he's going to crash his own dollar. Well, his dollar is getting ready to crash real soon, man. And they're going to usher in this digital currency, man. You know, something that y'all need to be prepared for, man. And hey, a purge is coming as well, man. You best to believe that, man. Because this dollar drop, it will be a fucking purge, man. You know. But with that, I'm going to